Hi guys, welcome back to 10 Minute Reviews. I'm Jason.
I'm Amy.
This is Freya wandering around somewhere. That's the fuzzier one. And don't forget to like and subscribe buttons, guys. We have a bunch of videos coming out. We're always talking about books, authors, random TV shows, random movies.
Freya.
We just talk. And today we want to do another one of our lists. We're going to once again do a 5 great. Again, we don't say greatest. We don't say number 1, anything along those lines, because it's all subjective. Absolutely is. And all that matters, it doesn't matter if somebody's the greatest, the best, it just matters, are they fun? Are they fun? Are they entertaining? Did you read it and did you enjoy it? Did you have a good time? So we're going to talk about fantasy authors again. We're going to talk about 5 great fantasy authors, because that is a popular genre with us. That's one. I'm science fiction, fantasy, thrillers, and she's fantasy, horror. That pretty much sums it up. So the 5 this time around.
Fantasy, horror, and some sci-fi.
Some sci-fi, very little sci-fi. The first one we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about some that are pretty well known. We're going to start out with 2 that are fairly well known. They're very well known. They've had a lot of books out there, so there's a chance you've already read them. Urban fantasy. The first one, Laurel K Hamilton. Laurel K Hamilton has a ton of books. Thankfully, not literally a ton, because otherwise that bookshelf back there would have collapsed. But she's got a bunch, and we've got
all of them.
The bunch, the whole bunch,
all of them,
a whole bunch. So again, she writes urban fantasy. This is the big author, the big fan of hers. So she's going to tell you a little bit of what Laurel K Hamilton writes.
She's got 2 of her main series, Anita Blake and then the Mary Gentry. Both are, well, Anita Blake is she's a U.S. Marshal, and she's a crime-fighting badass, and vampires, werewolves, and the like. Mary Gentry is fairies and their whole world, and both.
But it's all adjacent to us.
Yes,
right.
It's all modern.
It's the whole hidden world kind of thing, right?
Yes. Well, no, not the Anita Blake. They're all out in the open.
Oh, okay. So it's more True Blood than, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a fan of True Blood, you probably would
absolutely
enjoy it. The next author, probably just as big. Maybe not just as many books, because that's a bunch of books that Laurel K Hamilton has, but a lot of books. We talk about Kelly Armstrong. So again, urban fantasy, modern times, and again, this is the biggest fan of the author. Well, maybe not misery level biggest fan.
I'm not Annie Wilkes.
But
her biggest series is going to be her series about werewolves, which is the name of the series is eluding me. But then they've also got the men and women of the underworld and supernatural, which focuses around different half demons and.
Now these are the hidden world type of thing, where you're trying the supernatural trying to hide themselves from.
Yep.
And again, she's a very prolific author. I believe that I know Laurel K Hamilton, but I believe also Kelly Armstrong have had books that have made it onto bestseller lists.
Yes.
So they're definitely big authors, really big authors. So if you're a fantasy fan, there's a good chance you've at least heard of them, and just maybe not have read them yet. I honestly cannot explain why I have never started them up to this point. At this point now where I'm at, it's because I'm reading so many other books that every time I would have a gap to read them, I come across 10 other books.
And also the covers are very misleading.
The covers look like
soft porn, but they 100% are not. I mean, they do have a lot of scenes, but they have good story. Very, very good books.
They couldn't be as prolific an author as they are if
it was just fluff.
So this next author is one of the newer ones, not quite as big as Hamilton or Armstrong, but she's pretty darn big, and she actually writes under pseudonym. And it's one that I introduced her to, and as soon as I did, and she read the first book, she immediately caught up to me on all of the books. We want to talk about Michelle Segarra. That's our number 3 this particular week's great fantasy authors. Michelle Segarra. She also writes under the name Michelle West, but Michelle Segarra and her Chronicles of Elantra are absolutely incredible. The world building is amazing because it's different than any other fantasy series I can remember reading. Of course, there's elements that tie into or that are similar to other fantasy series, but you've got your immortal races, you've got your humans, the dragons, you've got the kingdom, but the kingdom is really just one city. But even that city has little areas of it that are not under the king's control, but under someone else's control. Fiefs. And then you've got the magic and the unknown magic and the unknowable magic, and then you've got the I don't know if I'd call them elves, but they kind of are the Barani, or kind of sort of elves, if elves were the deadliest assassins to walk the face of the earth, pretty much, because they are, except they're more like special forces soldiers. They're pretty awesome. You got the Leontines. There's just and then you've got Kaylin, who's just a normal human. At one point, she was the mascot for the law enforcement agency, for one of the law enforcement agencies out there. Now she's a member of it, Private Kaylin Nea, but she's covered in these tattoos that mark her as the chosen one. Chosen one for what? All.
Who knows?
But she's always referred to as the chosen one, and yet nobody actually has told her what she's chosen for. But she's the chosen one. And which gives her magic. She's a terrible student of magic, but these markings on her, they're not really tattoos because they move. Sometimes they come off her body. Sometimes they come back on. Sometimes they change. And the things that she gets into, she's almost saved the world a few times. She's also almost endangered it a few times. But the Chronicles of Elantra, you guys got to read it. If you're a fantasy fan and you've not read the Chronicles of Elantra, you must read them. They are absolutely incredible. And now the fifth great fantasy author that we want to talk about is one that you guys may not have heard of. Definitely lesser known, one of the newer authors to come out. Came out as an indie author. I did finally see a couple of his books at the bookstore last time I was there. So he hit big enough as an indie author to actually get publishing agreements and start publishing. Tao Wong, however it's pronounced, because Taoism is pronounced like it's a D. Tao Wong. He writes a couple different series and a few one-offs. His main series is more science fiction. It would be fantasy because it's lit RPG, but it's the System Apocalypse, which has ended. That series had a beginning, a middle, and an actual end. And yes, it absolutely did need to, but his Thousand Lee series is even better. And I was a huge fan of the System Apocalypse the first half. The second half I could have done without. The first half, however, was fantastic. The Thousand Lee series, 10 times better. The Thousand Lee series, it's a cultivation series. It's in the cultivation genre.
Is that as good as Beware of Chicken?
It's better. It's absolutely fantastic. The Thousand Lee is, of all the cultivation series and all the cultivation novels that I've read, because I'm a fan of the genre, it's my favorite, hands down. Hands down, the best, the strongest, the greatest, and it's ongoing still. I have alerts set up, so I get the alerts supposedly when a new book comes out, and I get very, very frustrated and very, very sad because I actually get the alerts when the new book just hits Amazon like 4 months before it's actually released, so you can pre-order it. So I get all excited. Ooh, damn it.
Happens to me with Laurel K Hamilton.
So, but there's quite a few of them out already, and he tries to write them, even though it's an ongoing series, he tries to write them almost in trilogies. It's the one character and his attempts to cultivate and ascend, but he has, I guess, story arcs that he does try and end. Like when he went into the most recent book, pretty much everything that had happened prior was for the most part wrapped up, with a couple of exceptions you can tell are going to be ongoing for a long time. But kind of like major parts of his life are locked into trilogies. Like he has these ideas in trilogies, which is great. There's some books. Jim Butcher would be a great example that there's so many things in the series that after 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 books, I'm still like, what when are we going to resolve this? How is this resolved? What is this? What's going on here? And Talon doesn't keep teasing us with it. He actually wraps things up as he goes. So you guys definitely have to check him out. I'm a huge fan of supporting the indie authors and getting more people out there to read them. So please, 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 please check them out. And otherwise, we want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. Give us a comment. Shoot us an email. Talk to us about books. Give us suggestions.
Send us dog pictures.
We'll read them, or videos. Otherwise,
Bye now.
bye.